So I'm here, not far from Salt Lake City, shooting some fall colors, and it's incredible. There are so many beautiful colors in here, from reds, oranges, yellows. There's a huge palette to work with, some incredible patterns, different trees. Finding it a little bit tough to compose, definitely one of the more chaotic things to try and shoot and simplify. But I'm doing a lot with the 100 to 400 lens, and I also brought my 24 to 70 that I'm going to work with a little bit. And yeah, hopefully we can find an interesting composition in here, because it's really gorgeous. Definitely a little tricky to compose though. So I found this scene that I'm trying to compose right now, and it's a little bit tricky trying to get these aspen trees with some of the maple leaves in the foreground so I can get some different colors, get a little bit of this kind of out of focus red tone in the foreground leading into the yellows that are going to be sharp and crisp in the background. But it's a little bit of a struggle. Even moving just an inch, the tripod and the camera completely changes the formation of the trees and the patterns here, so I'm just trying my best to compose. I have this kind of tree, this green tree on the left side of the frame. I think it's kind of a distracting element, so I'm going to move the camera a little bit to the right, maybe even move the tripod ever so slightly. There we go, let's go ahead and try that one. Right now I'm at 100 millimeters.
So here's that shot that I was working on. It ended up being more of a test shot than a final composition. The yellow-greenish foliage coming from the left side added an extra distraction to the image, and overall I felt like there were just better compositions to shoot, so I kept on searching. I pulled back a bit to shoot this composition where everything was a little bit more in focus at f/16, but again, this image felt just a little bit too chaotic, so I kept on searching, and then eventually I shot this image. I started thinking to myself, what are the most interesting elements that I'm trying to focus on right here? And really what was so intriguing to me was the contrast between those kind of more reddish magenta tones in the foliage and those awesome yellow tones in the foliage. So that's something I really wanted to showcase in these photographs. This morning session was certainly a learning experience. It was a lot of fun, but I had never really shot images like this before, so I was in a sense teaching myself how to shoot these images while I was trying to find the compositions. It kind of felt like I was solving a puzzle. It just didn't feel like I had all of the pieces yet.
There's just so much to shoot here. I'm finding that some of these groupings of trees that are a little bit further in the distance make for a little bit better compression with the telephoto lens. So rather than finding trees that are right in front of me and doing wide angle shots, I am focusing more on looking into the distance to see what patterns and rows of trees there are. But there's just so much. I just love all those bits of red and yellow in here matched with the whites of the aspen trees. So gorgeous. And I'm doing f/16. I want most of this in focus. ISO 400, just because the wind's blowing a little bit. I want to try and make sure that most of those leaves are in focus.
So I was a bit overly confident with this composition. There's elements of it that I like, but I again felt like it was a little messy. I think I was just excited to find an image where everything was in focus and everything was on the same plane of focus in the distance, but in general, I don't feel like these patterns or these colors were really coming together. In fact, some of the images that I shot prior, I liked a lot more than this one. I decided to move into the trees again to look for another shallow depth of field shot, and I actually found a composition that I really liked. Here's what I shot. This is definitely one of the most surreal images I captured that morning. I mean, I will tell you, this trail just looked like a pure fairy tale. It didn't feel like reality while I was out there shooting, but this image certainly looks more surreal than some of the others. I think the bokeh and the shallow depth of field definitely helped. I really liked these 3 aspen trees with all of the foliage kind of swirling around it, and how the out of focus bokeh kind of framed the image in this case. So here's one of my favorite shots of the morning. I really liked the contrast between this bare tree in the middle, framed by the 2 trees on the left and right side that both have that yellow foliage. I felt like having that darker background behind these trees really helped to highlight the different shapes and help them stand out in the composition.
It's just gorgeous in here. I don't think I've been on a more beautiful trail with all these incredible colors and textures and shapes.
I was having a blast shooting all of these images, finding all of the different shapes and the colors and the formations, but again, it was quite a challenge and it was a learning experience. It was certainly difficult to make sense of all of the chaos in the woods. I mean, it was so overwhelming. But as I kept moving along the trail and shooting different images and trying out new things, I'll say I'm quite proud of the progress that I've made throughout this video. This tree was just incredible with all of these gnarly, twisted branches that were radiating out through the middle of the image, and I had a lot of fun composing this shot. This is actually one of the toughest ones to process. It's a single exposure, but it actually took quite a bit of dodging and burning to really bring out the shapes here. And now I'd like to hear from you. Which image from the video is your favorite? Do you gravitate more towards some of the shallow depth of field shots? Do you like a certain color palette from one of the images in this video? I'd love to know. Let me know in the comments below. I want to thank my good friend Eric Bennett for taking me on this really incredible trail. He was off shooting some of his own compositions. I'm going to go ahead and leave a link to his work in the description so you can check it out because he is a really talented photographer. I want to thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel because I actually have a new fall foliage video coming out soon. One of my favorite days photographing and some of my favorite images of the year. So make sure to stay tuned for that. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next one.